Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this. It's the grand finals of the HouseRivalries Nations Division. I'm Robobson, and joining me for the finals today is Paradox. You excited for this, Paradox? How are you feeling?
For this most spooky evening of Hearthstone. Have you even got the lighting? We're off to a wonderful start tonight.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
looking.
lineups are even spooky. With both sides are playing the same four classes and the same four decks. We got
Oh,
Combo
close.
Priest, Holy Wrath Paladin, Shaman, and Tempo Rogue. The only real
Yeah,
difference that one side is using the Quest Shaman and one is using the more typical Evolved Shaman.
yep.
So I'll let you take it from here.
Yep. I mean, both very similar in that they're just trying high roll, Desert Hair, Mogi Flow Shaper, Evolve. That bit does not change through the two archetypes. But one difference, even though we got four classes mirrored on either side, is the bans are not mirrored. So Madrid's Token Shaman, rather than the Quest Shaman on Brussels, has been banned, while Brussels, their Combo Priest, has been banned. So even though Madrid have both a Rogue and a Token Shaman in their lineup, they still want to ban out that Combo Priest, which surprises me somewhat. And then Brussels have just looked at Token Shaman, said, it's the best deck in the game, I'm going to ban it. And I can emphasize with that. I hate that deck.
I'm glad to see we are playing from an unbiased position on the desk here.
I'm full
Uh,
of bias.
this is every man should be. We are getting into the first game right off the bat. It is the Quest Shaman from the Belgians versus the typical Holy Wrath Paladin from the Spaniards. So what do you think they're looking for in this opener? What are their first few turns going to be looking like?
Well, I think Madrid is a much easier to be talking about. They're going to be looking for a hand which looks almost exactly like this one. Christology on turn 1, and just power cycle card draw. Get into some board clears around turns 4 to 6, and then try and amass a combo. So Madrid's Holy Wrath Paladin is kind of I'd say the most typical wow. Pick up the second Christology to play on turn 3 alongside another 2-drop piece of card draw. Madrid have the start. But Brussels are looking for, ideally, an early Desert Hair Evolve to try and kind of punish Madrid for looking to just power cycle in the early turns, but failing that, try and just generate some kind of board tempo, finish the quest as soon as possible, and then start shipping damage to face, maybe amassing some kind of burst in the process. But it's looking pretty rosy for Madrid for the time being, but Brussels have plenty of good early minions, but nothing particularly impactful for the time being. And Madrid are already going to have to start thinking about hand size.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say, a lot of these points I would very much agree with. The Quest Shaman typically, as I have said on more than one occasion, has struggled traditionally in these early turns. Of course, having to skip your first turn to play the quest doesn't help matters, but a lot of these minions from the Shaman, without this Desert Hair Evolve high roll, they're not really doing very much, right? Let's look down the hand, shall we? We have Weaponized Wasp, which is just a free free. Life Drink is a free free. We've got a couple of 2-1s that generate lackeys, and a lackey that just gives something extra health. Like, this isn't much pressure, so even though, as you've rightfully said, this paladin is struggling with hand size issues, they already have Shivala, right? Which is obviously the card that you absolutely do not want to overdraw, because then you almost certainly lose the game. So the only cards that the Spaniards really worried about overdrawing at this point are Baleful Banker, which they already have one of, and Holy Wrath, which they still have 2 of in the deck, and they only need 1 copy to win the game. Now, I don't remember, I'm just gonna take a look, carry on without me.
So, but at the same time, burning cards such as Prismatic Lens is still quite a big deal for Madrid, I'd say. Something which is 1 card, which would draw them 2 cards, is still going to slow down their card draw quite significantly. And you don't really want to be burning cards as a Holy Wrath Paladin. Every card is in the deck for a reason. So they're going to try and manage it the best they can. It's not, I've got like a lot of cards, it is not the end of the world if they burn them. Burning something like Zephyrus or Emperor Thorosan would also be kind of a blow were that to come up. And as they've already used both Crystologies, they've got a lot of the early card draw out of their deck. Now there's just a lot of very good cards in the deck, which they would be quite unhappy to burn at this point. Picking up both Wild Pyromancers is pretty handy to have at this stage in the game. The quest is completed. Please ignore the noise from outside my window, so everyone's having a party.
It is in fact Halloween, and the kids are trick-or-treating back in the UK where we are casting from. But there is something I would like to take note of. While you were busy on that very insightful discussion, it turns out that Madrid don't actually play Emperor Thorson in their list, which means that their damage output over one turn is actually limited. They can't just go Emperor into Shivala, Baleful Banker, Holy Wrath, and then Zephyrs into like Lava Burst, for example, for 30 damage. They can't do that. They can only hit for 29, which is obviously not going to be overly impactful when the Shaman has limited amounts of healing, right? They only have 2 Life Drinker, and that's it. So it's not going to be that impactful, but
Paradox,
it is
I'm
a way
afraid
that they can lose.
I'm going to have to slightly correct you there. You have got the two teams mixed up there. Brussels are the side who do not have Emperor Thorosan in their Holy Wrath Paladin. Madrid do have it, which is I think much more conventional. Brussels have, instead of the Emperor Thorosan, a second copy of Shrinkray.
Oh, you are correct. Yes, I was looking at the wrong deck.
So Madrid...
ignore what I just said, but it will come up later as long as this Paladin on one side remains. I am pretty certain of that much.
Yeah, you are correct. So which does mean that Madrid are going to be looking to go for that 30 damage combo where they discount 2 out of 3 of Baleful Banker, Holy Wrath, and Zephyrus to allow them to do a full 30 damage, and that does mean that they are free at any point to do 1 banker to kind of heal out of range, although that pressure just has not amounted. It doesn't look at all necessary at this point. And the Hanzo is manifesting once again. Well, I mean, Consecration is a tool which is used to clear the board. When you've reached this stage in the game, and there's not even a board to clear, are you going to need Consecration? They have Pyro quality in hand for some kind of Desert Hair Evolve shenanigans, and they draw the second Consecration anyway, because why not?
Why not, yeah. I personally would have went for a Crystal Smith Kangor into Hero Paladin, because I think Crystal Smith Kangor is less valuable when you already have double timeout, and you already have like a ton of ways of like clearing the board.
Yeah, I think
the only real way of dealing with it is Sandstorm Elemental, which is not too likely to be in the hand, I would say.
Second Consecration's coming down. Madrid are going to make the most of this spell damage and just start clearing stuff out of their hand, as they've got this Prismatic Lens which has been kind of stuck there for a little while, and they want to get rid of that as soon as possible. And I think the other reason they played Consecration on the previous turn, they do still have Pyro quality, and they do still need to start playing spells so that the Shivala can come down as soon as possible. They've had the power draws, but they still need to play a lot more spells for Shivala to be playable.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised that, like, I don't mind this turn of the Moby Flesh Shaper into Big Bad Voodoo. I'm just kind of surprised that this Falnos was getting the draw, considering that Brussels have been sitting on that Earthshock for quite a large length of time. You think they would have used it, but yeah. I'm sure they have a different minion to silence in mind. Maybe this Kangor, prevent the Mind Shield.
I would agree with you. I would say that the two most high-profile targets for Earthshock in the Holy Wrath Paladin would either be Blood Mage Thalnos, which it survived, and Acolyte of Pain, which has long since died. So I'm not really sure what that is kind of earmarked for at this point. Maybe they're thinking that no, they are just going to use it on the Crystal Kanga, and it's a little bit awkward. They have drawn the Desert Hair, and now that Big Bad Voodoo is going to go completely to waste.
Yeah, And so now you can't help but wonder whether or not this shot could have been used on a better target. Because it's not like evolving into this whiteboard actually does anything. I'm pretty sure at this point, if you're the Belgians, you are very aware that there's almost certainly a board clear, right? Like,
Yeah, you
the
don't see
Paladin
two
has been
consecrations
actively
thrown
throwing away Consecration. There's no way there's not a board clear. So I'm kind of surprised they would commit a large board this soon. Although maybe they don't think they have any other choice.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this hand from Brussels, what else are they going to do? Madrid are going to use a timeout this turn as they have the Pyro quality in hand, and they're not really under any pressure. Get the Emperor Thorsan, a crucial card. So next turn we could see a Pyro equality Emperor Thorsan.
Do you just take the overdraw here?
With all the crucial combo pieces in hand already, yeah, I think they just do, and they agree. Because they will discount all three pieces of Zephrys, Holy Wrath, and Baleful Banker. They still have the second Baleful Banker in hand, should they need to use it. And they are at 30 health, and they've still got a second timeout. And if production could just check how many cards are remaining Madrid's deck, there are 4. They burned the second
Holy Wrath was burned.
And you know it's a Paladin is ridiculously far ahead when they burn a copy of Holy Wrath and they just don't care. So this Emperor Thorsan's going to come down.
Not caring might be a bit of a strong word to use. I think they care because, like, there's always again that random possibility of possibilities that this matters. But like you said, the Paladin is so far ahead that I don't think it matters. But if there was any card that they wanted to not see burn there, it was the Holy Wrath.
Yeah, so the Shudderbox doesn't come off the top from Brussels. There are 2 life drinkers in the pool, I believe, so they will get above the 25 total. The Kobold... so no, it was 1 life drinker, I'm sorry, and the Kobold Lackey did do some damage back to the face anyway.
Is this just lethal? Cards in the Paladin's deck, I believe. They can draw 2 of them.
Yeah,
with Flash of Light and Hammer of Wrath, so I don't think it's enough.
So the remaining card in deck is a Shrink Ray.
Because they can Hammer of Wrath, draw the last card, and then go Shabar the Tiger, Baleful Banker, and then Holy Wrath for 1 mana. And that'll be it. That'll be game over. Wait, what?
Yeah,
they didn't go for it?
Yeah.
I think they missed it. They definitely had enough mana. Because they played timeout for 2 mana, and Baleful Banker Holy Wrath was 2 mana. They actually just missed lethal.
Yeah, they did just miss lethal, but it's not gonna matter.
Not gonna matter. It's just an observation on my part.
Yeah, I think the reasoning behind that is quite simply you just think of, you know, once you played Emperor, Holy Wrath costs 4. They just didn't take in. They played that quite quickly. I think they just didn't take into account the fact that they had switched the cost of Holy Wrath, and it did cost 1. So it's not going to make the slightest bit of difference. Brussels are going to die on this turn, assuming that Madrid don't spectacularly mess this up. But something tells me they will not.
Yeah, but it is concerning that the Spaniards, like, in high stakes games like this, you are almost certainly going to pay enough attention to notice these things. Especially in a team game, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think that they should have spent more time last turn thinking about that lethal scenario, because that was obvious, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree. Maybe it was just a form of extended BM. Who knows? They felt like they weren't 100% that might be lethal, like they might have miscounted something, and they knew that it was 100% lethal the next turn, so it just went, we've got the timeout, might as well play it. Maybe they've got a play Paladin cards quest, you know? There's all these possibilities that we can't take into account. I don't think you'd be
considering that during the grand finals, Bobson, but I don't know.
Look,
we're all unique.
I'm trying to find the reasons here. So Madrid take a quick 1-0 lead after a pretty convincing Paladin win there over Brussels Quest Charm. So decks from Brussels have remaining after their Combo Priest was banned and their Quest Shaman's knocked out. So that's the two best classes lost, and they immediately feel that their best hope is a mirror match. So, Paradox.
Yeah.
The Holy Wrath mirror is an interesting one. What do you think they're going to be looking for?
Interesting is one word to use. From my experience of playing the mirror match, and of course, times might have changed. Zephyr's the Great may have like tilted it a bit, but usually when I've seen this matchup play out, it usually comes down to who uses the first timeout is usually the person who loses the game. Just because then you're left vulnerable to the massive 1-turn kill. So it's just going to come down to who is forced into using that first timeout to survive. And oftentimes that will just come down to who just drew more cards. Like if one side drew like 5 more cards than the other is almost certainly forced to use timeout first, and then they just lose.
I would certainly agree with that. That's generally the way it goes, and Brussels have double prismatic lens to get things going, which is generally what you want to see. Although Madrid have quite a fair bit of card draw of their own. And on turn 4 onwards is when we're going to see start to go off.
Yeah, that's trade, by the way, that the Brussels Rulers did right there, like trading into the Pyromancer. Because they understand that you're just going to kill the opposing paladin in 1 turn. No armor is getting gained, unless Zephyr somehow picks, like, I don't know, like shield block or something. Like, no armor is getting gained, so if you're going to kill them from 30, it doesn't matter how much damage you deal beforehand. Especially when double Flash of Light is in the deck, for instance.
Yeah, the minion pressure just doesn't really amount to anything in this matchup. And also, I think it was a heads-up play from Brussels, because with a Pyromancer on board, having the coin in hand makes things a little bit awkward, and that's 2 Christologies in Brussels.
Like, the difference in quality between these prismatic lenses is practically night and day. Like, one side is getting equality in Elven Archer, which pretty much do nothing in this matchup. The other side's got double Christology, so I think we might be seeing a comeback here remarkably quickly if my theory about this mirror match does in fact hold, which I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Yeah, so we're going to see a Prismatic, and I'm assuming we're going to see this Pyromancer come down just to clear out the hand, as it is a pretty useless card. And that Prismatic Lens for Madrid, the 1 mana equality, 4 mana Elven Archer, not only does it give them just a 4 mana 1/1 in their hand, which they need to get rid of because hand size is a huge part of this mirror match, but it's also meant that they have 3 less mana of spells for the eventual Shavala.
If you want meta, mate, what's worse than a 4 mana Elven Archer? How about a 25 mana Subdue? That's never getting played. That's literally -1 hand size for the Brussels Rulers at this point. That is not good.
Yeah,
especially when they're stuck on 8 cards.
When you hit Shavala, you're fine so long as it doesn't. If it hits a card which is not card draw in this matchup, you're fine. Like if it hit if it hit a Holy Wrath in particular, but also if it hits Hammer of Wrath.
Number 2. So I think they already used 2 of them. In fact, the game feed even tells me they've used 2 of them already, so ignore that one, but you get it.
Yeah, the game feed currently features 4 Prismatic decks.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I meant.
So both teams just power cycling right now. And this Kangor's going to come down because of the aforementioned Kansas. No, more Novice Engineers. Which means that at some point Christology is going to come down and it's going to be useless for Madrid. Brussels probably want to play their Christologies while it's still going to have some effect. As the later on in the game it goes, the less likely it is to have any impact. And going to equip a True Silver. It's just the balancing act in this match of playing cards which draw cards and playing cards which don't draw you cards. Try and keep your hand as close to 9 cards as possible.
Yeah.
So I need to play some more stuff so that this second Christology can come down on the following turn. like I assume we'll probably see something like just like thrown away consecration, Christology, and then a 2-drop of some kind, possibly another World Pyromancer.
Could just go with the Pyromancer and Christology. Like, skip the middleman, don't need to consecration until you see what your draw is, because you do still have Elven Archer on the side of the Belgians, right? They do have a 1-mana card they can just throw away, and then they can play Blood Mage, so they draw more cards more efficiently.
I mean, Brussels do know that there is a 4... They should know that there is a 4-mana Elven Archer in their hands, because Equality costs 1, there is one 1-mana minion in the deck. So there is a 4-mana Elven Archer there.
There most certainly is, it's just whether or not that information is relevant, and I find it hard to believe that it would be relevant. But Elven Archer just has no impact, I feel.
Yep, very little. And now Brussels have yet another turn of how do we draw the most cards and not overdraw.
Yeah. A question of how can we throw away the most amount of cards possible in our hands, so it's
while
just,
also refilling them at the same time.
Yeah, of course. So I do see the Elven Archer. Probably going to see Novice Engineer too, I'd imagine, because they don't have enough mana for this consecration. Oh no, going for the Pyromancer, are we? Okay. Interesting.
This turn is a little interesting to me. Played a bit off curve when the Pyromancer Christology 4-mana spell seemed to be a lot more suitable. The 7-mana turn is often very awkward for Holy Wrath Paladin, and we just saw it once again. And Madrid have a even more awkward turn to follow up. Brussels' hand was full of 2-mana and 1-mana cards, which made their decision, I think, a lot easier than what it is for Madrid right now, as they just have a lot of rubbish right now. Like, we could see something like a Holy Wrath to the face and just thrown away Rebuke to get it out the hand. Play 7 mana worth of spells, get Shivala down to 5. At least get 1 card out of the turn. Importantly for Madrid, they still haven't hit either copy of Christology. So at some point...
1 attack minions have the Spaniards played so far. Let's count them down. So, Crystal of Kangor, Elven Archer, Acolyte of Pain, double Novice Engineer. I believe that's all of the 1 attack minions, if I am
only
correct.
Blood Mage. Only Blood Mage Thalnos is still remaining.
Blood Mage Thalnos, okay.
And there's
And they're playing
copies
Acolyte of Pain with 8... Wait, is that 8 cards? Yeah, 8 cards in hand. Oh.
That's an interesting one. But do you want to give... So, Madrid's thing here is, well, if they overdraw us, we would be drawing an extra 2 cards. And drawing 2 cards as a Holy Paladin is, when they have Shivala, Baleful Banquet, and Holy Wrath in hand, and as well as a single copy of Timeout, there aren't that many bad mills remaining in the deck, so Brussels don't take the opportunity to overdraw them. I think assuming that if they play a minion out, which would allow them to overdraw at this point in the game, that means that they have all the combo pieces already in hand, and overdrawing them would just be essentially doing them a favour.
It's also important to note this is probably the only turn where Consecration would actually be impactful in this game. Because with the Thalnos that deals 3 damage because Acolyte Pain while you're drawing a card, and it keeps your 2 silver online just so you get that last swing of damage, because it's important to recognize that the Belgians don't play Emperor, like you said earlier when you so rightfully corrected me. Their damage output is limited. They can't deal 30 over 1 turn without that True Silver Champion in play. So by using this Consecration, they are giving themselves the opportunity to reach that all-important 30 damage breakpoint. And on the topic of overdrawing earlier, like I said, the main card in this matchup, the most important card by far, is Timeout. If Timeout is overdrawn, on either side, the game is over.
Yeah.
Like, you never recover with only 1 Timeout, so I think it was a risk that the Spaniards took, and fortunately they didn't get punished for it, as they so easily could have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have taken Brussels. I think it would have been a mistake for Brussels to go for the overdraw though, just because the possible downside is probably worth the upside of drawing 2 or 3 extra cards off an Acolyte of Pain in a matchup which is almost entirely predicated around card draw. Brussels just throw out a Shrink Ray to turn their 1/1 Novice Engineer into a 1/1. That is a absolutely useless card in this matchup. Brussels do have 2 copies of the card in their deck for, I'm assuming for the combo priest matchup, which is, I imagine the reason that deck was chosen to be left up instead of the token shaman, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And finally, the Elven Archer is going to come down.
The only opportunity of an Elven Archer came down. And also, the Spaniards also using the Holy Ref right there, knowing that they can get the 30 in one turn. And again, knowing that there's no way that the opposing player can get armor in this matchup, so you can just throw away one Holy Ref, you don't need to. You only need the one turn. I'd be interested to see if the Brussels Brawlers decide to do the same thing on this turn. Like just throw out that Holy Ref. Though they do only have 1 in hand, so it's a little bit less obvious, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, Madrid have already played 1 copy of Holy Wrath previously. Brussels just going to throw away the Consecration. Perhaps get this Acolyte of Pain down. As I'm interested to see what the card count is at this point. I think Brussels are very close to their deck. If we could just get production check card counts for us. So 6 cards remaining for Brussels and 5 remaining for Madrid. Are actually slightly ahead at this point. Like, you may look at the health totals and think, oh, Brussels must be a bit ahead. But I don't think it is all too relevant. The fact that Madrid are 1 card ahead is a big deal. However, the fact that Madrid still haven't had a chance to play their Emperor Thorison yet, it has just come into the hand. So we might just see that come down this turn, as future turns will be predominantly taken up with either Shivala combos or timeouts. Getting everything discounted at this point in time would be, I think just the earliest time possible is the most beneficial for Madrid.
Like, I think it's the only time they can do this. Because, again, it's sort of, the whole point is to force your opponent into playing timeout before they want to, right? He who plays the first timeout is going to lose. So naturally, if you're ahead on cards in your deck, which now the Belchers are, they are now 4 cards going into this turn. So they're ahead by 1. And at this point, there is no forms of card draw in the hand for Madrid. They even have a Flash of Light left, so they're 2 cards ahead. Which means that now, the Spaniards, they're going to have to take a risk in order to win this game. It's as simple as that. Like, being 2 cards ahead means that you simply have to go for a Holy Wrath at some point in order to win. You have to go for it when your opponent doesn't time out. Because if you time out first, you lose the game. It's literally as simple as that.
Yep. So Madrid could take that, just Hail Mary. It would be that something like a 1 in 4 at this point if they were to just shuffle Shivala, go for it, get a surprise lethal, but that's very risky. But it's kind of reaching the point where Brussels are ahead enough that it would kind of become a 100% certainty for them. Brussels going to get a copy of Shivala into the deck right now. Just go for it immediately. They do
have a second Holy Wrath, so they don't. It's not really a gamble, right? Like, because they have the second Holy Wrath, they're sort of saying, hey, we're on the board. Like, this is, again, it's sort of like that same idea you keep stressing throughout this game. Emptying your hand of cards, getting the card draw. And again, like, Madrid's at 9. Like, 1 Holy Wrath is now enough to finish the game. So is Zephyrus potentially if this board is left up.
Yeah.
Like,
Zephyrus.
Madrid are almost certainly going to have to time out eventually.
Yeah, Brussels are trying to force that early timeout from just pressure, and Madrid, of course, do have Shrink Ray, they do have Wild Pyromancer, so they do have a clear. But Brussels, they have Shivala remaining in deck currently, and they have that second copy of Holy Wrath. And if Brussels get to the point where Shivala is just their last card, they can just Holy Wrath and end the game. Because Madrid will be looking to time out when the deck is about to be emptied.
Yes. Yeah.
Madrid forced to play out their first Shivala here. Just trying to think of the order. They're just trying to think of the ordering here.
It's just a
the
bit
Wild
of
Pyromancer.
Shivala bit of like that. Okay.
This will heal them back up to 16, which is still not out of range of the Shivala Holy Wrath, but there is a possibility that this Shivala gets to attack phase again, heal up again. Very unlikely, mind, but there is a possibility. Shivala does come into hand, so there isn't the possibility of second being ripped. So now Brussels are going to have to answer this board. They could do something like a Equality Zephyrus Consecration. They could do Equality Flash of Light Zephyrus Arcane Explosion. Or deal with the board, draw them a card. Or they are going to go for the Zephyrus first, which would get Twisting Nether?
First, yeah, I think they just defaulted on Twisting Nether. I like your idea of the Arcane Explosion for Equality turn quite a lot more.
Yeah, just because
I just don't. I legitimately just think they just didn't think about it.
Yeah, like
They were like, "Oh, this wall needs to be cleared. Clear it."
yes,
Like,
it would have allowed them to
it.
play the Flash of Light, essentially achieving the same results while getting the board clear, and would still leave them with the Zephyrus on the board at the end. So I think that was just not thinking about it. And this.
I think it was just an
technology,
oversight.
I think we'll draw the Blood Moon Stamina still.
Well done.
But nothing else. There's still that second copy of Christology in the deck, just hiding. Brussels had both Christologies right at the start, getting them both right at the end.
So, forgive me if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that Brussels is still ahead on card to deck. I'm pretty sure it's 2-3 at this point. I think. Oh, they're going for it. How did they get it?
They get the Christology. That's why I was talking about still being in the deck.
That's the second Holy Wrath gone, though. That's the second Holy Wrath gone.
That
Madrid
is
have no burst damage. They're gone. They're done. It's game over.
Could your voice get any more high pitched with that paradox? Yeah,
I can try a higher pitch if you like, but nah, the game is over.
Let's go for a nice one set it. Yep, there's nothing left. The Holy Wrath's gone. That was it.
Yeah.
I think that was a good recognition from Madrid, though.
Yeah, this is just lethal now. Yeah, there we go.
I'm out of cards. It's time to test your
Nice and simple. Shivala, Baleful Banker, Holy Wrath, and that is a tied series, 1-1.
Yep, so Brussels winning the mirror match, knocking out the Holy Wrath Paladin from Madrid. So, decks remaining for Madrid. They have their Combo Priest, and they have their...
With Chef Nomi.
What do we call this kind of rogue with the kind of burgle cards, vendetta, waggle?
Tempo rogue?
Yeah, it's kind of like a tempo rogue with a few of the more kind of aggro rogue cards. They've kept in the 2 copies of Waggle Pick, which have usually been taken out. They've got Myra's Unstable Element, and they have Chef Nomi. The Myra's Unstable Element, Chef Nomi...
typically it's a sign of a more greedy build. Sorry for the interruption there. Like, normally in this deck...
They do not have Togwaggle. Instead, they have the Myra's and Nomi.
They do indeed.
Packages. So, this... As it's kind of a slower build than kind of the list that run Hook, Scimitar, Deadly Poison, looking for copious amounts of burst. Edwin Van Cleef is always a good way to start things off if they get... I think one of the best things that a rogue can do against Paladin is go 1-drop in Coin, Shadow Step, 1-drop Edwin. And if there isn't that Rebuke there... No, not Rebuke, Subdue. Wrong weird Paladin spell.
They're both 2-mana Paladin spells, you're not too far off.
Yeah, I just keep getting them mixed up. Madrid are going to throw out this
Ah.
questing adventurer because
Ooh.
there is no odds for it immediately.
I actually really like this play from the Spaniards because they have a really good follow-up to this too. They have Swashbuckler plus Underbelly Fence into possibly Vendetta 2. And then their questing adventure is at least a 3 mana 4/4, which isn't bad. It dies to True Silver, but it's not bad.
Yeah, but Truso was a singleton. It did also die to Subdue plus Elven Archer, another very specific combination of cards. But this questing adventurer is going on an adventure and getting pretty big already. Dealing with the Crystal Smith Kangor before it does any healing. And against Rogue is when the Crystal Smith Kangor Flash of Light, I think, is very impactful. So that going away is quite a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. We do see the lens coming down, and it does get another lens that costs 2 mana. And now I'm pretty sure the Spaniard's like, okay, there's probably like Shrink Ray or something coming down next turn, so they're just going to plop down this annoying module knowing that has the Taunt Divine Shield. It's just a big nuisance
So
to
this
deal
is
with.
a very straightforward prismatic lens for 2. And that was a great pickup of
Timeout.
the first prismatic lens, by the way. Just because for this exact reason, on 5 mana, which is kind of an awkward turn for Hydroath Paladin in general, they were able to utilize their mana perfectly and just get this timeout down, going into the Pyro Equality turn on 6, and I wonder what Madrid will do from here.
Do you Shadow Step Swashbuckler?
That is a very, very slow card.
It's not really about its speed. The reason I would have Shadow Step Swashbuckler though is because let's look at the next turn.
I was talking about the dragon that was just put into the hand from the Big Fox. I did like Shadow Stepping.
Bronze Herald. Oh, my apologies. Oh, I thought you were talking about Swashbuckler for a second.
No,
carry on.
but the keeping the Shadow Step was sort of rewarded by picking up Leroy immediately after. And we could just see a Leroy Shadow Step on this turn, to be honest. It sets up lethal on the following turn. You've seen Crystal Smith Kangor already. You've seen one timeout already.
I mean, there's still 2 Flash of Light. I feel as though that's exposing your hand too early. Like, why go for the setup now when you can go for, like, Bronze Herald Edwin, and then you still technically set up lethal for next turn just with the 1 Leroy?
Yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't want to put all of my eggs in one basket when I'm still setting up lethal anyway. It just feels like a waste, in my opinion.
That is fair, and this is a very precarious position for Brussels. Like, this board is not super threatening, but it's still...
The life total, mate. 6 damage when you're at 12 HP is quite a lot.
Yeah, no, the only reason that it is at all threatening is the fact that they've already taken so much damage from that questing adventurer and the early Underbelly Fence. So everything that happens now is going to be pretty awkward for them. That Holy Wrath did not have the desired impact, unfortunately.
I used it on the face. I would have used it on the Evil Miscreant there.
I
like, honestly, because like pushing damage to the face in this position as the Paladin just doesn't do anything.
And even if they did hit the Hail Mary of the Shavala, it's not lethal.
No.
So, and the 2 damage would have meant that they didn't take an extra 1 damage. They didn't leave a evolved here, and now there's an Orkanai, which would have been dead had they aimed at the Miscreant. They're just going to keep loading up the board. Play a decently sized Edwin here. It's going to be a 8/8. And they still have that Leroy Shadow Step on the following turn. So Brussels need to clear the board and either heal or timeout. So this might be a Shrink Ray timeout, potentially.
Don't think they have any alternatives. And it's funny, right? You're talking about how slow the Bronze Herald was, but looking at it now is actually seeming pretty good. Because after this board is cleared, you can just play the 2 Bronze Dragons as 4/4s, and the Paladin still has to deal with it.
And that is the second timeout dealt with. Brussels do not have the Shivala in hand, which is their
Oh,
big form of burst healing. Sap hits the Acolyte of Pain. Brussels were really hoping that by
yeah.
time out them on the Acolyte turn, they could force 2 draws from it.
Yeah, it's really good recognition from the Madrid mages as well, just to say, why would we give you extra outs to clear this board or heal? Just get that Acolyte out of here. There's nothing else you can sap really in this matchup. So I like that use. Very good recognition there.
Yep. Christology and Avenging Wrath. That's just extra damage.
It's adding insult to injury almost. Like the Leroy Shadow Step is still like 12 damage. The Avenging Wrath isn't quite as good by comparison.
Yep, so Brussels are going to think, oh yeah, Pyromancer, Shrink Ray, Novice Engineer. This turn's great, but the Leroy Shadow Step in the hand is going to mean that this one is over.
I don't think they were thinking that turn was great. I think they're thinking more of, this is the only chance we have to potentially come back. We have to go for it. And as you said, there won't be enough. And the Temper Rogue doing Temper Rogue things with good old Leroy Jenkins and Shadow Step will be going into this game 3 if they win.
Yep, so the final matchup remaining for Brussels Brawler is their own Rogue. And the Tempo Rogue mirrors they're weird ones because of the fact that cards like Swashbuckler and Blink Fox do not enable some of the more powerful cards like Underbelly, Fence, and Vendetta. The only cards that do that are the Hench Clan Burglar, I believe. I think there's or possibly.
Yeah,
Pharaoh
that's
Cat.
the only one that's going to enable it. Unless
Pharaoh Cat.
unless Swashbuckler gets like Clever Disguise or something, the 2-mana spell that lets you get cards
But
from another class,
there's also the
right? That's like the
potential
only way.
Or potentially Pharaoh Cat has no kind of class restriction on what cards it can give you. So the more important thing generally is the lackey generators, things like Evil Miscreant, Backstab, always fantastic in any kind of rogue mirror for pretty much the entirety of Hearthstone. As it's a tempo matchup, and Backstab is a pretty fantastic tempo card. So I'll be interested to see if Brussels decide to even keep the Blink Fox, or if they want to keep any of these cards, really, to try and get some of the one-drop plays and more powerful things. They do keep the Blink Fox, interestingly enough, and they do get a one-drop, and Madrid, they keep the Miscreant, which is not really what you want going first, as they don't have a kind of combo activated. A Cartoot Defender is pretty nice in a tempo rogue mirror, all things considered. And
It most certainly is. It's just a little bit allergic to that sap we see on the other side. You are and while you are saying there wasn't that many combo enablers for the Miscreant, they just need to wait a turn. Like, Evil Miscreant has historically been one of the most important cards in the Temporary Mirror match just because of the value of the lackeys.
Yep.
And as far as decklists go, I would definitely put the... What's it called? I would definitely say Brussels is more favoured if the game goes long because they have the cards like Siamat and Icebrand's Hogwaggle, which do give them ways to possibly come back.
Yeah,
it just depends on how much burst damage the Spaniards are able to find before that happens.
Yeah, Iceberg and Hogwaggle can give a pretty ridiculous tempo swing with the draw that they cost 0. And Siamat is Brussels' kind of secret card, I believe they've been calling it. As it's just a pretty impactful card.
The Crazed Chemist,
Crazed Chemist, the one whose name I always forget, the kind of cold blood on a stick, as it were.
You know what I remember? I remember that card most from that one Tavern Brawl. You remember that Tavern Brawl where like all of your minions were like 1/1 for 1 or something, right? And like Spirit of the Shark rogue decks are just absolutely everywhere, and they played Crazed Chemist in there just because it's 1 mana, give a Spirit of the Shark plus 8 attack.
Oh cross.
That was crazy.
I do not remember that one. Brussels got some pretty shocking options there from their Hench Clan Burglar. Witching Hour and Revenge of the Wild, both kind of beast synergy cards, which I mean, Witching Hour is essentially a 3-mana resummon Blink Fox, and Revenge of the
It
Wild.
isn't that bad, to be fair.
Or a Pharaoh Cat.
So many options.
Could
Much
just be
less
3-man
good. Yeah, I
summon
think
El Pharaoh
I think
Cat.
Cone of Cold was a much safer option. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's the only one with any kind of potential impact. Madred's hand has been incredibly slow and clunky through this game. They have the Nomi, they've got the Waggle Pick. They're forced to sap a Hench Clan Burger just to activate this Evil Miscreant. Not really where they want to be, and they don't get some very high value lackeys. The Taunt Lackey and the Evolve Lackey are particularly impactful. And Brussels burn a sap, which, if you're going to burn any card in the Temper, sap is probably one of the ones you're happiest to see burned.
You say that, but I do see that Wrapped Golem on the other side. The 7-mana 7/5 Reborn that summons Scarabs of Taunt every turn. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been a very prime sap target, because that's
Yeah,
probably going to come
that-
down on 7 based on the context of the hand.
Yeah, but that is, you're saying that with knowing that the fact that there is a Raptor Golem in the hand from Pharaoh Cat. Generally, Temper Rogue minions they all have very good battle cries, so you're generally just happy to see most of them get sapped, except for Questing Adventurer or Edwin Van Cleef. And we've already seen the sap used on the Hench Clan Burglar. Another sap comes into the hand, so it matter paradox.
Matter. That's typical, isn't it? We've all seen that, like, the random outcome, like, hey, he overdrew that card and he just gets it back immediately.
A true Silver Champion as well. That is a pretty nice card to get. And what you were saying before, if Swashbuckler gives something like Clever Disguise or Stolen Steel, that card, the true Silver Champion, is going to enable things like Underbelly Fence or Vendetta if those are picked up off the top. And now there's a 7/7 Quest of Adventure. Madrid, ironically, with their full hand, have just drawn Myris Unstable Element. Probably not the card they're going to be looking for here. Pick up a Spirit of the Shark. More value, should they need it. And
Yeah, they don't really need to see value when they're staring down the 7/7 Questing Adventure, though. They just
do not.
they need this Questing Adventure gone, and the sooner it's gone, the better.
Yeah, and Brussels are going to have the option to just hide this questing behind
Wait.
a Kartuk Defender on the following turn.
2 taunt. Oh my god, they got 2 taunt lackeys from the Evil Miscreant. That is not what you want to be seeing in this situation.
I mean, I think Brussels have a pretty good way of... I'm sure they have a pretty good way of dealing with Backstab, Eviscerate, True Silver Champion, Code of Cold. Some combination is going to allow them to hit face with this Questing Adventurer.
Blink Fox now. Like, you sap Blink Fox, Backstab Miscreant, True Silver Miscreant. They just push 11.
Yep, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
And the
Going off of your
Eviscerate in
logic,
hand.
they're not really caring about the Reborn minion or the quality that it is. So it's like, just not even worry about it. Oh, they're going for the Henchman Burglar. What did they get? Topsy-turvy?
Topsy-turvy
Oh!
means that they can flip this Evil Miscreant into a 6/1.
And they can eviscerate the Blink Fox and clear both of the taunts.
Whew!
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Did
no, and they're using the Topsy as well as the Backstab.
so they push more damage.
Allows them to kill
Wow.
off a lackey, and that is a 11/11 questing adventure, which is just running rampant. Madrid really wishing that they had that sap right now.
Yeah. Of the purpose of questing adventure in this deck, right? We've all seen the massive Edwins that go out of control on the road mirror. And questing adventure sort of does the same thing.
Yep, if you...
It's just it just does it in the other way around, right? Edwin's like, you played all these cards first, then you get the big guy. Questing's like, oh, every time you play stuff, I get bigger.
Yep, it's just whether it gets bigger from playing stuff before it happens or after it. But you
Play a lot of
both play
stuff
very...
after the fact.
Yeah, Tempo Rogue with things like Shadow Steps, Backstabs, there's lots of little kind of tricky cards which they will play to just kind of make a huge questing adventure if it goes down unchecked on the first turn it is played. Which is exactly what we saw happen in the previous game with the Rogue against the Paladin. That questing adventure was unchecked and just allowed them to put so much pressure on the Paladin both timeouts were played and they eventually got the game. That's exactly what's happening here. It's just running away with the game, and I don't know if Madrid could even survive at this point. Because
Yeah.
just going for a
Oh,
Hail Mary evolve, it looks
Fox
like.
on the spirit shot. Well, they get a whole lot of nothing.
Yep.
Spark drill.
They at least get to kill that. So if there wasn't a sap
10 million
or a true
ways.
silver or a backstab or a vendetta or an eviscerate,
Grace
or-
chemist. Woo!
yeah, just for the
17
additional.
attack, I think.
And now, so that's gonna take it to a score of 2-2 in this grand final. I know what you want to see.
I was about to say,
But-
would you have it any other way, Bobson? We all
Absolutely
love
not.
Game 5 scenarios, don't we?
Oh, we
I know
do.
I do.
But we've just got to look at the 2 decks remaining, and Madrid were ahead for this whole series, but all of a sudden it's not looking so good for them because they've got a combo priest up against this tempo rogue from Brussels, and the main reason that rogue has kind of risen to prominence recently was quite simply the fact that it did very well against combo priest. So going to be a bit of an uphill battle for Madrid. Of course, very winnable matchup, but things like Underbelly Fence in particular and Vendetta can make it very hard for the Priest. Once the Priest loses the board in the early game, it can be real hard.
The light shall bring
So interesting to see
Yeah.
who's going first. Now, Brussels are on the coin, which they're going to be very happy to see. They have an Underbelly Fence in their hand, which they're also going to be very happy to see. So now what they want is just some kind of enabler. If they can find a Swashbuckler, this is already very tough for Madrid, because their hand in the mulligan is atrocious. They do get a cleric though.
Their post-Mulligan hand is looking quite a lot better, though, you must agree.
It's
I would say
significantly better.
Yeah. I would say historically, by the way, that Rogue and Priest have always had this rivalry in Hearthstone, right? Where it's
Okay,
like
who
Rogue
can
has just
steal?
consistently dominated Priest, whether it's Miracle Rogue or Temper Rogue. Like Rogue just has all of these like cheap tools to get rid of the Priest minions, or Sap to get rid of taunts. There's so many ways of blowing the Priest out. They even have backstab now. Like they could go backstab coin dagger if they're that scared of Northshire Cleric, which I know a lot of people are. I could see them going for it.
I
What do you
mean,
think?
I would not hate that play, to be very honest. Killing a Northshire Cleric is just the biggest thing you can do to a combo priest. It shuts down half of their deck